Hi, welcome back to my channel. This book review is for Johanna Porter is Not Sorry. Why is our character Johanna not sorry? The book is 98% in the present, but there is a segment of the past that has to set or give us the setting for this book, at least the premise for this book. That premise is when Johanna was in her early to mid-20s, she was a promising young artist, very talented, first with pencils and charcoal and then with paint, and she was on the art scene in art shows doing fine. But she was getting a hand up, or she began to get a hand up. How did she get this hand up? Well, she got it through someone who became her mentor, and his name was Nestor. Now, I won't be spoiling anything for you, but I will tell you this. Johanna and Nestor entered into a physical relationship. Yes, the thing is, Nestor was 30 years her senior. But she thought the sun and the moon set on Nestor. But then, like I said, the book takes place in the present. Why and when? Well, when is 20 years later. Well, first of all, what happened with Nestor, and secondly, or should I say, first of all, what happened with her art career, and secondly, what happened with Nestor. Moving forward, she goes to an art show. She gets invited to an art show, and she's perusing the various paintings, and she's missing this part of her life. In fact, she gave up art, became a teacher. She has a daughter, a teenager, 15, 16, 17, somewhere in there. She has a daughter. She teaches at her daughter's school, and life is same as it was every day, same in, same out. That's her life. Well, she's at this art show, and she spies a painting. I won't tell you what the painting was or who painted it, but she spies a painting, and this painting reminds her of her past, of a specific time in her past. Well, Johanna makes a decision that makes the name of this book stick. Johanna Porter is not sorry. Okay? Now, here's the question. What do we as a reader think or feel about the decision that Johanna makes at that art show? That's one question. And then, based on a decision she made, she did something spectacular for her life. She left home. She went to a beach town. She rented a shabby cottage. And she decided she's going to paint again. But she has a teen daughter. Did she take her daughter with her? What about her job as a teacher? Okay. Now, her daughter's name is Mel, and we learn a lot about Mel in this book. Mel is a very principal character in this book, along with Johanna. But then, Johanna's life takes another turn. She meets somebody named Mitchell. Now, I will tell you how they meet. He approaches her and says, look, my hand is messed up and I really want to go sailing, but I can't handle all the aspects and I don't know anything about sailing. I know there's something called a winch, I think, but that's probably it. Will you help me? She's like, I don't know you. But that's how they meet. So, run this through for you again. We have Johanna, we have Nestor, we have her daughter Mel, and now we have Mitchell. But there's one other character I want to talk about, and that is Nestor's daughter. Now, Nestor's daughter is only 5 years older than Johanna. So she plays into the story too. Now, this is a very, very, very deep book. Very deep. In fact, I just want to see when I read it, because I hope I read it this month, but I don't think I did. I have to check. Okay, good. I'm glad I read it this month because I had already said what my favorite book of February was. So at this point, as of March 7th, when I'm making this video, this is going to be my first, if not only, but definitely my favorite book of the month thus far. And I've read 11 books so far. Why do I say that? Like I said, it's a very, very serious subject. We have two stories here. We have what happened to Johanna 20 years ago and what's happening with Johanna now, 20 years later. We also have the dynamic that exists between her and the relationship that she forms with Mitchell and the relationship with her daughter. All of those things are part of this story. Now, she knew she was talented. So if she was so talented that she could give up everything that was normal in her life, leaving her daughter with her father and leaving her job as a teacher to pursue art, why didn't she pursue it for those 20 years that had passed? And then there's Nestor's daughter, Pilar. What relationship did Johanna have, if any, with Pilar? And what influence, if any, did Pilar have on Johanna's life? Those are questions that you have to think about when you're reading this book. But you also have to read about that a woman in her 40s who changes the trajectory of her life wouldn't do it without any major force behind that decision. That impetus behind that decision was that very painting she saw at that art show. I'll tell you that much. But I don't want to spoil anything for you, but I'm going to tell you something. This book had deep, deep subject matter. So deep that honestly and truly, I have never read the intensity, the deepness, the twist in this book in any book I have read thus far. So, what I needed to see when I was reading this book was, how is Johanna going to get past whatever happened at that art show, and how is she going to deal with what I'm telling you is a twist in the book? Not only did I want to know how Johanna, the character, would deal with it, I needed to know how the author, okay, and I don't even think I told you the author. The author is Sara Reed. How did the author convince me that those two issues could be resolved in a 300 or 400 page book? How was I, the reader, convinced that a woman who was not sorry for her actions, when we know every action has a reaction, everything has a consequence, how is the author, Sara Reed, going to convince me, the reader, that the solving of those issues could actually be viable? That's why Johanna Porter Is Not Sorry ended up being my favorite book so far this month, and very well just might be my favorite book, if not one at least of my favorites this month. Because I highly respect our author for presenting us with ethical issues. Okay, ethical issues. I'll tell you that much. Ethical issues that make you think as a reader. Now, when you think of a character, you expect that character to be a role model of sorts, right? You want to connect with that character, at least on some level. Maybe not overall. I mean, she's 40 something, I'm 60 something. So there's not going to be a true connection. But there has to be something that keeps me turning pages in the book, right? But if this author, Sara Reed, presented ethical issues in this story, then I needed to be able to connect to Johanna in some way, even though she may not have been a perfect role model. But she was someone I rooted for. She was someone that I was 100% there for. And that's all I'm going to tell you about Johanna Porter Is Not Sorry. So, when you read this book, and I highly recommend it, find out for yourself what it is that she's not sorry about, how it works out, and what is that deep issue that came up in this book. And that's all I'm going to say about that, because I would love to hear from anybody, whether it's in a week or a month or 6 months down the line. I'd love to know what you think of this book and how you think the author handled it. I think she did a fabulous job, and I'm really glad that I read it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Talk to you later.